Today, we all have assembled here to witness the brainstorming and enlightening session on Has OTT opened a new box office for Bollywood? Tremendous learning is going to be there for all our students for whom this stalwart studded session has been organized by our very own Honorable Chancellor Sir Dr. Sandeep Marwah. Dr. Sandeep Marwah is the founder Noida Film City, President Marwah Studios, and Chancellor AAFT University of Media and Arts.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this webinar. Let me start with two lines. कि हम तेरे हो चुके हैं जब चाहे आज़मा ले, नजरें तो मिल चुकी हैं अब दिल से दिल मिला ले, ऐ शम्मा तेरी खातिर परवाना बन गया हूँ, जरा देख ले आकर दीवाना बन गया हूँ, सजदे में गिर गया हूँ अब तो जरा उठा ले, हम तेरे हो चुके हैं जब चाहे आज़मा ले. I'm very happy that today we have opted for a very important subject of OTT. This is one beautiful way to entertain people of this world. It all started with 4 or 5 OTT channels, and I'm happy that today we have more than 60 OTT channels which are actively working in this country. May I request Ashok Tyagi to please proceed further. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. President, Sandeep ji. Komal ji, kindly set the ball rolling. Kindly go ahead.
Thank you, Sandeep ji. Thank you, Ashok ji. Very kind words, Ashok ji. Actually, the importance of OTT platforms cannot be overemphasized. But this lockdown period has underlined how important a platform it is, for the simple reason that cinemas were closed right from mid-March 2020 to October 2020. And then cinemas state-wise started reopening with 50% capacity, etc., etc. Some with 75%, some even tried 100%. And then the second wave of the coronavirus struck more furiously than the first wave, and therefore, one by one, just like the states had reopened the cinemas, one by one they started announcing closure of cinemas. And the condition today is that all over India, cinemas are shut. During this lockdown period, producers were wondering what they would do with their completed films, because one completed film means an investment locked, and that investment could range from 5 crore to 100 and 125 crore also, because everybody knows today films are being made at huge budgets. It took Shujit Sarkar and his partners Ronnie and Sheel Kumar to make the first move. And they announced that they would release their Gulabo Sitabo on the OTT platform because cinemas were closed. So they decided to premiere on OTT platform rather than wait for cinemas to reopen, because there was absolutely no indication when cinemas would reopen. In the pre-COVID days, what used to happen is films used to be released in the cinemas, and after a cooling period, which was of 8 weeks, they were allowed to release on OTT platforms. So the price which the OTT platform offered to producers was, after taking into consideration that it will have exhausted its run in the cinemas, and therefore we are the second platform. Shujit Sarkar and his partners negotiated with the OTT platform, and they said that instead of waiting for the cinemas to reopen, you premiere our film. Obviously, the OTT platform had to shell out more money, because after all, instead of the second platform, or sometimes the third platform, the satellite channel could be the second platform. So instead of the second or the third channel, second or the third platform, it became the first platform, and the OTT platform agreed to pay more. This move by Shujit Sarkar and his partners was met with a lot of trepidation by the national multiplex chains and by the cinemas in general. And Inox, one chain, even went ahead and issued a veiled threat publicly. It issued a press release saying that now we shall see how we release Shujit Sarkar's future films. We will boycott him because he has not stood by the exhibition community, not stood by the cinemas. Of course, it was more of a knee-jerk reaction, I feel, because it was the best any producer could do. And because of that, a string of producers, a line of producers followed, and one after the other, we had films being premiered on OTT platforms. Whether it was Sadak 2, whether it was Gunjan Saxena, The Kargil Girl, one after the other, and big producers, small producers, medium producers, they all saw this as the only way to unlock their locked investment. And I would give credit to the OTT platforms that they came to the rescue of the film industry. So in these 15 months of lockdown, reopening, and then lockdown again, in these 15 months, if the industry has lost approximately 4,000 crore of rupees, at least 1,400 to 1,500 crore of rupees have been recovered only thanks to the OTT platforms. So what I mean to say is more than 25% of the lost income was liquidated because of the OTT platforms. Otherwise, all these films, right from Gulabo Sitabo to Sadak 2 to all the films which have come on OTT platforms would have still been in the cans and they would be gathering dust. And as you know, films are more like perishable commodities. What is in vogue today may not necessarily be in vogue after 1 year. And we've seen that the pandemic lockdown, with a little bit of reopening, it has continued for almost 15 months. So I think the OTT platforms came to the rescue of the film industry, which is not to say that they had social work on their minds. No, for them it was business. They realized that if we are going to premiere a film, we better pay a higher price, because if one platform wouldn't pay, another would pay. It's all about building the library for them. They at least rose to the occasion and stood in solidarity with producers. The exhibitors, the national multiplex chains, thought that the producers were not standing in solidarity with the cinema walas, but that was, I think, as I said in the beginning, it was a reaction out of excitement and fear that cinemas are being bypassed. But this is an extraordinary situation. Nothing is being bypassed. For this extraordinary situation, when cinemas are closed, of course it has to be bypassed, because you cannot flout the law of the land, and the rules, the laws say that cinemas have to be shut. So the best alternative, next best alternative, was to release and premiere a film on the OTT platforms. And just before the second outbreak, Salman Khan was the first producer. Salman Khan and Zee Studios, which had bought the all world rights and all rights of Radhe, they announced that they would go in for a multi-platform release, meaning they would release the film in cinemas and OTT platforms and DTH platforms simultaneously. Again, the national multiplex chains, PVR, Inox, Cinepolis and Carnival sort of just distanced themselves from this announcement, and they said, they did not say it in so many words, but their actions indicated that they were not in favor of a simultaneous release. This has been the bone of contention between exhibitors and producers since time immemorial. So they gave enough indication that they would not release the film. It's a different thing that cinemas across the country were closed after this announcement was made by Salman Khan and Zee. And therefore, not just the national multiplex chains, even the single screen cinemas and the standalone multiplexes who would have otherwise released Radhe in spite of simultaneous release on OTT platforms and DTH platforms, even they couldn't release because the government had announced closure of all cinemas. So what could have been a multi-platform release, the first multi-platform release, Radhe, actually turned out to be just a digital release for circumstances beyond their control. Yet, at least Zee Studios and Salman Khan put their best foot forward and said that we will go in for the pay-per-view model and try to collect as much from subscription. It was a TVOD, transaction video on demand. And they did manage 4.2 million views is what they've announced was the first day's viewership according to industry standards. But what played dirty for them was piracy. The film was pirated so extensively that probably Zee Studios, not Salman Khan, because Salman Khan has got his price. Zee Studios would stand to lose at least 70 to 80% of the business. You know, when in the pre-COVID days, when people used to ask me how much is lost to piracy, my answer used to be 15 to 20% because, and why do I say 70 to 80% in this case? Because there's a big basic difference. In the good old days, when films used to release and premiere in cinemas, the choice for the individual was to pay a price, buy a ticket and watch it on the big screen, or to watch it for free by downloading the pirated version and watching it on the phone or on the television set. So it was big screen versus small screen. Lots of people, despite the temptation to watch it for free, opted to go to the cinemas because they realized nothing can replicate the big screen entertainment. Whereas in the case of Radhe, cinemas were shut. There was no question of big screen entertainment. So the choice was watch it after buying a ticket on the small screen, or succumb to temptation, don't buy a ticket, download the pirated version and watch it once again on the small screen. So the choice was small screen in the comforts of your home versus small screen in the comforts of your home. The only difference is either you pay a price or you don't pay a price. You support piracy. And therefore, lots of people supported piracy because they realized, why spend 249 rupees for one family when we can get it free? A lot of people didn't even know that what they were doing is wrong. They didn't even know that watching it on Telegram or on their WhatsApp in their phones, when it has come from a pirate, was actually illegal. So a lot of people did an illegal act without realizing that they were supporting piracy, without realizing that what they were indulging in was criminal activity. And therefore, the loss to Zee Studios was 70 to 80% of their supposed revenue. Had there been no piracy in the country, they would have made a minimum of 70 to 80% more. One doesn't know how much they will end up making. 30 crore, 50 crore, 60 crore out of this OTT and DTH release. 70 crore, one doesn't know because they've got the rights for 10 years. But if for instance, they end up making an X amount, they would have made more than double, almost 70 to 80% more than what they have made, because all that money went to the pirates. One person pirated the film and it was all over the world in a matter of minutes. Of course, 3 people have been traced by the police because Zee complained to the cyber cell, but that doesn't mean Zee will make good its loss. No, those people may be punished. They may be sent behind bars, which also I doubt, because in India, the laws of piracy, film piracy, are toothless laws. Although there is a law, nothing, I repeat, nothing has been done by the government. It's quite a shameful thing that the government has not been able to really take action against criminals indulging in piracy. So that is the main reason why people do not respect laws, at least this law, and indulge in piracy. So even if the criminals are punished, the loss which Zee has suffered is lost forever. It is a dead loss for them. They cannot hope to recover. And therefore, I say the multi-platform release pattern may not really impress and interest many producers, because they've realized in the case of Radhe how much piracy has hit the distributor, that is Zee. And yes, I would still say that the OTT platforms and the producers working in tandem during this lockdown period is the best option available. There couldn't have been a better option, because otherwise even this 1,000 or 1,500 crore which have been liquidated because of the release of films, जैसे फिल्में रिलीज होती है वो पैसा वापस आता है and वो वापस producers इंडस्ट्री में ही डालते हैं दूसरी फिल्में बनाने के लिए. So I think that much more money is in circulation. Otherwise, I'm not even talking about the entertainment it has provided to the general public, etc., etc. For the industry per se, this has been a boon, and this has been the silver lining in the otherwise dark lockdown period.
Ashok ji.
Thank you, Komal ji, for setting the ball rolling for the discussion today. You have really illuminated us about OTT, and all of us right now know it is a great tragedy that government has been collecting earlier entertainment tax and right now GST, and yet is doing nothing to curb the piracy. Before I request our next expert, Mr. Rajeev Chaudhari, to take the discussion further, we have with us here Pankuj Parashar. And I would like to, because Pankaj ji, before I go to Mr. Rajeev, because he will, Pankaj ji, you are a filmmaker and always you have been considered ahead of time. Being a futuristic director, filmmaker, how do you look at OTT from the point of view of a filmmaker?
Okay, I think Mr. Komal Nahta has put everything on the table, whatever we need to know, very well. Obviously, he's the most well-informed. But you know what upset me was that I was hoping that Radhe will break grounds and make 100 crores and 200 crores in the first week on OTT because the whole country. But the piracy angle, we never imagined it's going to be this high, 70-80%. So that is a really damn squib. Otherwise, of course, like Komal said, 25% at least money we have recovered because of OTT. But if I was just thinking, if you bring the price down, supposing our net connectivity is huge. Supposing 200 million people are lured to watch it in the first week and we price it at 10 rupees. I think the amount of income will be much more. And of course, if you curtail piracy a bit, then the whole industry will flower and flourish. I think that match has to be worked out, basically. And the main thing is that we need big star movies to crack this OTT plus cinema release, because smaller films, people are competing with the net, with the Amazon and Netflix and Paglayat and all that, those kind of movies are coming as it is. There's a lot of entertainment out there. So we have to focus on the big stars and then the simultaneous release on cinema and we have to, what Jio did was Jio widened the whole net of people. So the film industry has to ideate on how to widen it, bring down the price, give incentives. So the price is not, for Salman 249 and 450 is okay. But smaller films, if you rate it lower, 10 rupees, and you widen it to 200, 300 million people watching, then you're talking a huge amount. Someone has to do the maths. But Komalji, I don't know, do you know the exact figure how much Radhe has done till now? Does anyone know?
Even Z has not been able to calculate. I'll explain. Just give me 2 minutes. I'll explain why. There are different formulae. One is those people who have watched it on Z5 and Zplex. That entire revenue comes to Z. There is no sharing. Then there are DTH platforms, Tata Sky, Airtel, Dish TV and D2H. Now that money, if people watched on one of those platforms, that money belongs to those DTH platforms. And out of the revenue generated, a part will be shared with Z, depending on what the agreement is, 30%, 40% or whatever. So that is one more. Plus Z5 allowed its latest subscribers, probably those who had subscribed just 1 month before 13th May or 2 months, I don't know exactly. They allowed them to watch Radhe for free because they said if they have just become members and asking them to once again pay 249 is not fair. So there were 3 different kinds of viewers and therefore it would take a long time for them to also understand what the revenues from this model would be. Secondly, unfortunately, none of the digital platforms are willing to share information. There is absolutely no transparency. At least Z announced that 4.2 million viewers watched the film on the first day. Imagine the other platforms just say that it has been the best opening so far. Now that best could mean 5 million, 50 million or 50,000. One doesn't know. So till transparency is not visible in the accounts of or in the figures of the OTT platforms, I think it will be very difficult to assess and to gauge how much any film has collected. So therefore, actually even I now, while writing reviews for films premiered on OTT platforms, in the absence of figures, I make it a point to mention, had this film released in normal times in the cinemas, it would have ended up doing 200 crore, 175 crore, 65 crore, to give an idea, because we are all so used to talking in terms of figures, the entire trade, that we need some ballpark figure to understand whether it's a good film, good as in a successful film or an unsuccessful film. Thank you.
Yeah, but in today's age, everything is computerized and all the figures must be there. Like in film information, we used to have every day, we know what figures are there. Which
but film information, the figures used to be there because distributors and producers and exhibitors used to share with us. Here, the OTT platforms are just not willing to share. I've spoken to each of them and they say, no, this is our policy. It's your policy to hide figures, then God save you.
Okay. Because then how do you compute how much do you sell them for? Tomorrow if Suryavanshi or something is going to be sold, because if Radhe has done 250 crores and accordingly Suryavanshi and 83 can be sold for prices, if they're not revealing, then it is andhere mein lathi marna.
Yeah, it is so. So now currently the negotiations are, if Radhe got this much, this film should get this much. So it's a comparison between the setup of Radhe and the setup of Suryavanshi, rather than what that Radhe made at the on the platform. So it's a very wrong way of negotiation, but that's the way it is, because it suits the OTT platforms to not reveal. Probably if they reveal, they would have to pay more. So see, it's a question of, it's like a tug of war. So it'll take its time, and like water finds its own level, I think there will come a time when figures will be easily available. When film information started in 1973-74, it was not easy for us to report figures, because at that time producers, distributors, exhibitors used to lie. But we had our reporters, we had our representatives all over India who used to check and counter check. And then there came a stage after computerization and after the industry got industry status, then there came a stage where people realized that no amount of fudging of figures is going to help, because they have their sources. So automatically people started giving genuine figures. Probably something. But
actually, thank God OTT is there, because otherwise what would have happened to the industry? All those movies would be unreleased. Yeah. At least that money's come. Plus shootings are going on, ke chalo theatre mein nahi, OTT mein dal denge, that backup is God sent.
Thank you, Pankaj ji, for your valuable words. And now I would invite our next expert, Mr. Rajeev Chaudhari. Go ahead, Rajeev.
Yeah, how I wish this OTT thing was a success. It really sounds great for all producers today in the wake of all these theatres that are shut. But it's not a foolproof method. Piracy, of course, it's 80 to 90% film is eaten away by piracy. But there's also one more problem. The technical setup is not perfect. I mean, there are a lot of crashes, internet crashes, and even the ticket booking process has to be simplified on OTT. They're learning, I think it will come up. I don't see very big success to this Zplex channel, because we already have a lot of films releasing on so many channels. So it's not unless there is a big, phenomenally big, hyped up film that comes, so that will probably encourage a viewer to buy an OTT ticket. So that's it. Actually, nothing can beat the theatre experience. Once the theatres start, I'm sure films will see huge limelight at the box office. Theatre business is required and we are waiting for that. But in these days, we can keep experimenting with new ideas on OTT. Let's fight piracy on OTT, on internet, till theatres don't open. I think finally OTT is just an additional solid territory along with theatrical business. After the theatrical business is exploited, one can depend on OTT as another territory. It cannot be the main territory till we have this parasite called piracy. So today, OTT is something like oxygen for box office, like in these Corona days. It's just helping us survive. So let's wish and pray that theatres open. I've always backed theatres. Theatres should open and we should enjoy business in theatres as well as on OTT. That's it. So let's pray everything goes well. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you, Rajeev ji.
Thank you.
Now, after listening to the experts, I would like to have a little diversion and invite Samikssha Bhatnagar ji, an actress, and how does she feel about the emergence of this OTT platform from an actor's point of view?
So thank you so much. And as an actor, actually, if I'll say, OTT has thrown open the doors for all the talented actors, and it has emerged as a democratic platform for actors. And I think there is no monopoly, on OTT platforms. So if I'm not wrong, there was a time when good film content never used to get chance to be screened in theaters, even if they get chance to release. But the screen timings were used to be so odd, like 10 a.m. In the morning or 4 p.m. So that time, who has the time to go and watch, So now what I feel, platforms like Amazon, Netflix and Hotstar, 180 countries are watching them. And actors, many actors perform really well and people can see them all over the world. So it is, and even this COVID situation, when people are restricted at home, they have no other way to go out and watch the theaters. OTT they have the only option to shift to the OTT platform and watch. Recently, even my film got released, Black Rose, on Shimarumi, and pehle the makers have decided to release in the theater, but then the theater was shut, and we got chance to get our film to the OTT platform, and I'm getting, and the whole team is getting a lot of response and a lot of appreciation. So that's the new thing, which I think all the new actors, not only actors, technicians and makers, and everybody is getting chance to release the film on OTT. And according to me, it is very beneficial for everyone.
Thank you, Samikssha ji. We have Dr. Mahul Brahma from Kolkata. And Kolkata historically has played a very important role in the growth of Indian cinema, right from the days of new theatres. In fact, the first superstar of India, K.L. Sehgal and Prithviraj Kapoor, they found their footings in Calcutta. P.N. Sarkar, I have great regards. And when we use the word Bollywood, I again and again try to explain to everybody, it's not confined to Mumbai cinema. Bollywood covers everything, Chennai, Kolkata, because the talents from all the regions of India, they come and contribute to the Mumbai cinema. So we would like to hear you, sir, on this subject.
I'll start with a very intricate question that filmmakers are always asked about cinema. So that is filmmaking an art? And I'll tell you how this question is still relevant in today's time when we are considering the OTT platform as one of the biggest avenues for cinema to survive in these COVID situations. So is filmmaking an art? So that's the question. So I'll quote Satyajit Ray, who's the legend. He once said that a shot is beautiful only if it is right in the context, and the rightness has little to do with what appeals beautiful to the eye. So what is rightness? That is very important. In today's world, when Komal made a very interesting point when he said that earlier the comparison was with a big screen versus a small screen. So whether I would watch a Salman Khan star in a small screen for free and a pirated version, or should I go to the big screen and with my family have a good day and a good day of entertainment and do that. Now the option is a small screen and a small screen. So therefore, the trade-off has somehow changed, and therefore there is a greater tendency for people to go for a channel wherein earlier, if they go out with their family to a multiplex to watch a Salman Khan star, they would spend at least 1,500 rupees. Now even the 249 becomes, oh, why should I if I watch it on Telegram, I'll do it for free. and clearly they do not know that it is a crime or whatever. So number one, that awareness needs to be created. I heard Salman Khan saying that it is a crime and all that. So more awareness needs to be created to make OTT viewers, more aware of what the reality is. That there is a difference between watching it on Telegram and watching it on your television screen. By buying it properly. Otherwise, even OTT platform, the business making will be hit adversely, as Komal rightly said, 70 to 80%. Now, my first film was screened at Cannes Film Festival, and the best thing that I found about Cannes is that while I had taken a short film, Anurag had taken a Kashyap had taken a blockbuster, Raman Raghav. And there were other films which were blockbusters, as well as almost a zero budget film of mine, which found a platform at that film festival. And there was a platform, for the business of it. So there are people who go there every year, for the business of cinema. It's called Marché, or the marketplace. So in a platform like Cannes, and because I've been to Cannes and I have a first-hand experience, I think there has to be a platform which is given to OTT released films, and that will do justice to taking these films at an international level. So while the curse of COVID and everything, we are not able to get that kind of a big budget film. But a lot of experimental films, a lot of short films, which were earlier, even my second short film had to be released on YouTube, posted, but now we have so many platforms wherein the producer can get some money out of it, and not only recognition. So this has encouraged many people. As Samikssha said, that many actors, actresses, even film directors to use the OTT platform to make more and more good films, and more and more good films will only come when a lot of experimentations are done, and today that is possible. Digitization and digital intervention in cinema is perhaps the greatest disruption that it has seen over the years. And I'm not only talking about OTT, I'm also talking about the making of the film, the increased intervention of digital. Now, it is only because of this increased intervention of digital that when today most of the films are already there for the OTT platform. Now, this poses a threat. Now, given an opportunity for a blockbuster film, like a Bahubali or a Radhe or a superstar film, which I would want to see at a cinema hall, would I enjoy it as much as in the premise of my drawing room or my bedroom, when I'm doing 10 things, maybe on the laptop I'm sending a mail and doing that? Maybe not. And the problem is that, given the issue of piracy, would we like to see these many blockbusters that are coming, the larger-than-life movies as an audience that are coming to us via OTT? Or would we like to see more of experimental films where we do not miss much, the impact of a 3D, the impact of the surround Dolby sound? So I think the future, if this OTT platform is to continue independent, as the only channel till the time our cinema halls are not open, it is a good idea to stick to films which are more experimental, where more and more producers and directors and film actors get an opportunity to make films, and to maybe postpone a little, the big ones, maybe an Infinity War or something like that. I would have not want to watch an Infinity War here in my drawing room, wherein I don't have a 3D, where I don't have the surround sound. So I think producers also need to think that whether big budget films are meant for OTT or not.
Dr. Brahma, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Why don't you do your quarantine love stories? This is the right time to shoot them. I believe you've written some stories on the quarantine couples.
Yes, sir.
This is a good time to do that.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. That means a lot coming from you. I will definitely work on that. and they're meant on the luxury and the crime and the dark love stories. So they are more they lend themselves to maybe a cinematic representation.
Yeah, Mr. Marwah can fund you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Marwah, in advance.
I would like now invite Payal Ghosh, a young actress. She has done a number of films and she's a big star in South. And she's first class first in political science and active member of RPI. So at a time when the industry is suffering from piracy, we look up to her to help us in fighting piracy and other things she would like to speak. Please kindly go ahead, Payal.
So when it comes to piracy was there even before, even when when film used to easily get released on theaters. That time also it was piracy, but it was not people didn't notice much, though the rules and regulations came about piracy even before. But then also people ignored, because again the way Komal Nahta has said that it was big screen and small screen thing. But now when it is small screen and small screen, so people are realizing, okay, it is piracy. But this piracy was there since ever the film was been made. So it is nothing new today, and there was no rule even before, and there is still no rule even today. So it is nothing new. And when it comes to OTT, is a great savior right now because it's lockdown. And when you compare OTT with big theaters, cinema halls, cinema, then in that case, when you talk about big films like Salman Khan movies, where people more than content would love to see Salman Khan on big screen, or when you talk about Spider-Man, when you talk about those kind of movies, you definitely would love to go to theater and watch those movies. You cannot enjoy those movies on OTT, of course. But OTT has come up with films which are not and the contents which are not only Bollywood films, Bollywood films, or nothing like only Hollywood typical theater release films. They have come up with contents that is released, that is made only for the particular OTT platform, like Netflix have N series, N films. So they have their own films. In that case also, you enjoy those films watching, and they have lots of content, and that is something which you really enjoy, and that's their film. Because I am a very big fan of Netflix, and when I keep on watching their films, that Hollywood especially, the content that they have come up with, that Ellie, all these N films, you really enjoy them. So, and again, it is making way for many actors who may not get opportunity to work in Bollywood films, but or Hollywood films or the mainline films, but they are getting opportunity to work, and that is actually helping it in a bigger section of people. So obviously, you cannot say you cannot ignore OTT, and you cannot say that OTT is not a prime platform. Yeah, it is not when it comes to the typical theater release films. So in that case, you have to, obviously, you cannot enjoy that film on OTT or on mobile phone or a TV. And everybody in India, especially, is not fortunate enough to get a home theater, because they don't even have a proper room to stay. They cannot afford to buy a home theater, or they cannot watch movies like that. And so the kind of enjoyment they can get, like going even to single theater, forget about multiplex, and if they can afford going to Chandan or some single theaters, so they can enjoy those movies watching in big screen rather than watching on mobile. But right now we don't have any other option than completely depending on OTT. So obviously the film like Radhe and all, like the film charm can only be understood or can be enjoyed only if it is released in big theaters. But they cannot hold the movie for long, and film gets stale once people start talking about the film. So OTT is a big savior. But finally, OTT has its own charm. The theaters has its own charm. Theater has their own audience and their kind of movies, and OTT also have their own charm and own kind of content. And when it comes to films, then right now, during this corona, during this lockdown, OTT is a savior for all the industry.
Thank you, Payal.
you.